If you follow the WNBA at all, you know players speak their minds. But every once in a while, somebody goes so directly at the league office that it stops everyone in their tracks. That's what just happened with Napheesa Collier. In a 4-minute statement at a postseason press conference, the Minnesota Lynx star didn't just complain about a few calls. She went straight at Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and the league's leadership, calling the WNBA's decision-makers tone-deaf, dismissive, and in her words, the worst leadership in the world. For a player who's usually known for being calm, thoughtful, and low-key, that is a nuclear-level escalation. This wasn't some random outburst after a bad loss. Collier is a vice president of the WNBA. She's actively sitting at the table while the players' union and the league hammer out a new collective bargaining agreement with an October 31st deadline. In that press conference, she pulled back the curtain on conversations she says she's had directly with Engelbert during those talks. So when she blasted leadership, it wasn't from the outside looking in, it was from someone who has been in the room. The trigger she pointed to was officiating and how it's been handled. Collier said the league's response to player concerns has felt dismissive and disconnected from what athletes are going through on the court. When a top 5 player in the league stands up in front of cameras and basically says, "We're not being heard and the people running this league don't get it," that's going to hit hard. And it has. Her comments immediately kicked off a media storm around the WNBA. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a playoff series or a tough whistle. It became a referendum on the state of league leadership, the quality of officiating, and how seriously the front office takes its players' voices, especially during high-stakes CBA negotiations. In the middle of all that stands Collier, 29 years old from Jefferson City, Missouri, long known as one of the most humble, team-first stars in the W. Now she's also one of its loudest. What's really telling is how other players reacted. A'ja Wilson, 4-time MVP and face of the Las Vegas Aces, didn't hedge at all. Asked about Collier's comments, she basically said she's always going to back Fee, describing her as a business girly who has her own things going on. That's not just casual praise, that's one franchise player publicly lining up behind another in a direct clash with the commissioner. Wilson went further, saying she's grateful that someone like Collier is on the union's leadership committee, representing players during these CBA talks. Her message was clear. To move the league forward, they need people who are willing to stand firm, not just behind closed doors, but publicly when necessary. And she said that right after the Aces punched their ticket to the WNBA Finals. She could have brushed it off and focused on the win. Instead, she chose to amplify Collier. It wasn't just veterans either. Rookie of the Year guard Paige Buchers posted a photo with Collier on her Instagram story and captioned it "Queen Fee." That might sound small, but it matters. Younger players are watching all of this and they're picking sides. Seeing a rising star immediately crown Collier like that tells you which way a lot of the new generation is leaning. Then the WNBA itself stepped in with a statement that couldn't have been much clearer. They said that when Fee speaks, people listen, and that they believe her comments reflect what many, if not most, of their members are feeling. The union called on league and team leaders to actually listen to what she said, not just react to the tone. They reminded everyone that the players know their value, even if the league doesn't always act like it, and emphasized that this fight is about their legacy and the future of basketball, not just a few missed calls. When your own union basically says, "She's speaking for the majority of us," that's not one player going rogue. That's a coordinated message. It puts real pressure on the commissioner's office to respond in a way that goes beyond PR. Cathy Engelbert did issue a response through a league spokesperson. She said she has the utmost respect for Napheesa Collier and for all WNBA players, and that she was disheartened by how Collier characterized both their conversations and league leadership. But she added that her commitment to the players and to the work they're doing won't change, even when perspectives differ. You can hear the balancing act in that statement. On one hand, Engelbert wants to project respect and stability. On the other, she's clearly not thrilled with being branded the worst leadership in the world by one of her most prominent stars. It's diplomatic, which is her style, but it doesn't erase how blunt Collier was. To really understand why Collier's words land with so much weight, you have to know who we're talking about on the court. Since she entered the league in 2019, she's been one of the best two-way forwards in the WNBA. She burst onto the scene in her debut game, dropping 27 points on the Chicago Sky in what would become a Rookie of the Year campaign. Marnie Gellner, the longtime longtime play-by-play voice for the Lynx and Timberwolves who called that game, still remembers how she seemed instantly comfortable at this level. Statistically, Collier has been rock solid and elite. Across her WNBA career, she's averaged around 18.4 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 3.0 assists. She's already a 5-time All-Star and was this year's All-Star Game MVP. She's also a 2-time Olympic gold medalist with Team USA, winning in 2020 and 2024, and a 2016 NCAA champion with the Yukon Huskies. She's not some fringe player looking for attention. She is one of the foundational stars of the modern WNBA. Over the last couple of years, Collier has also stepped into a different kind of role in Minnesota. When Lynx legend Sylvia Fowles retired, the franchise entered a new era. Ahead of the 2023 season, Collier was named the Lynx sole captain. According to Gelner, that's when you really saw a shift. There was more on her shoulders than ever before, leading in the locker room, answering for the team and the media, and running the show on the floor. Gelner has said that Collier didn't just accept that responsibility, she thrived in it. Her availability to the press increased, her voice in public grew stronger, and the team clearly looked to her as their anchor. That leadership evolution with the Lynx set the stage for what we're seeing now on the league level. She's no longer just a quiet star, she's a captain in every sense, and now that extends to league politics. What's really interesting is Collier's background off the court. Leadership and diplomacy are literally in her blood. Her grandfather, Gershon Collier, was the first permanent representative of Sierra Leone to the United Nations in 1961. He played a role in negotiating Sierra Leone's independence from Britain and later served as the country's chief justice. Her father has said that Gershon used to tell them he was the last ambassador President JFK received. Napheesa has talked about how growing up, there were no off-limits topics at the dinner table. While most families are told not to bring up politics or religion, her family would talk about everything. She grew up hearing stories about self-sufficiency, responsibility, and the importance of upholding the family name. That kind of upbringing shapes how you look at power structures and who's accountable when things go wrong.
So when you see her now, calling out the WNBA's leadership in a very public way, it fits with that lineage. She's not just venting, she's making a case. She's trying to hold an institution accountable in language that echoes those lessons from home. Be responsible, stand up for your people, and protect what your name is attached to. Her own family today adds another layer. Collier is married to Alex Basil, a well-known basketball trainer who has worked with top pros. They have a daughter, Mila, born in May 2022. Collier has been very open about how becoming a mother has changed the way she views her career and this league. It's not just about her next contract anymore. It's about what kind of WNBA exists in 10 or 15 years, and whether her daughter will see women players treated with the respect and resources they deserve. That long-term mindset shows up in the way Collier is building things outside the W as well. She and Basil co-founded Unrivaled, a 3x3 professional league that launched its first season last year. It's a domestic option created specifically for women, many of them WNBA stars, to play high-level basketball and get paid real money in the offseason without having to go overseas. Reports say Unrivaled offered average salaries north of $220,000, which is around the max base salary in the WNBA itself. That's huge! It means Collier isn't just criticizing the existing structure, she's literally building an alternative, creating another lane where women's basketball can thrive. That's exactly why Aja Wilson described her as a business girly with her own projects. She's an entrepreneur, not just an employee. All of that context, her on-court dominance, captaincy, diplomatic roots, motherhood, and entrepreneurship comes with her to that press conference mic. So when she says officiating is bad and leadership isn't listening, she's speaking as someone who has invested heavily in this league and this sport, not someone looking to burn it down. The officiating piece is critical. Fans see missed calls and inconsistency every night, but players live with it. It affects their health, their contracts, their legacies. When your union vice president says publicly that the way games are being officiated and managed is unacceptable and that private conversations with the commissioner haven't produced real change, that's a direct challenge to the league's credibility. Timing is everything here. These comments didn't come in the middle of a random June road trip. They came while the WNBA and WNBPA are in active collective bargaining heading toward that October 31st deadline. Free agency rules, player safety, scheduling, compensation, and yes, officiating standards are all part of that bigger negotiation. Collier making this stand right now is as much about the CBA as it is about one postseason. Of course, there's risk in taking on the commissioner this directly. The WNBA is still a relatively young league, and the relationship between players and leadership is critical. But the outpouring of support from other stars and from the union itself shows that Collier is far from alone. The players are telling the league, this isn't just one person's frustration. This is a widespread feeling that needs to be addressed seriously, not just brushed off. On the other side, Cathy Engelbert is in a complicated spot. Under her tenure, the WNBA has grown in visibility, added sponsorships, and moved toward expansion. The business metrics are trending up, but those achievements don't automatically translate to player satisfaction. You can expand the league and still miss the mark on how players are treated day to day. Engelbert's response suggests she wants to de-escalate without conceding that her leadership has fundamentally failed. Whether that's enough for players remains to be seen. Going back to Marnie Gellner for a second, she said something that captures the bigger picture. She called Collier one of the most impressive people she's ever been around. And she wasn't just talking about points and rebounds. She pointed out that people are now starting to see the off-court Collier more clearly, and that side is just as impressive as the basketball player fans have been watching for years. Right now, Napheesa Collier is sitting at the intersection of three huge lanes in women's basketball. She's one of the best players in the WNBA, she's a key leader in the Players Union during a crucial CBA negotiation, and she's a co-founder of an up-and-coming league in Unrivaled that could reshape off-season economics. When someone carrying all of that steps up and labels the current leadership as tone-deaf and dismissive, it's not a throwaway moment, it's a turning point. The question now is how the league responds beyond carefully worded statements. Do they bring players more meaningfully into decisions about officiating? Do they adjust how they communicate during conflicts? And in these CBA talks, do they move at all in the direction Collier and her peers are pushing? For fans, this is one of those moments that will define what the WNBA looks like in the next decade. Player empowerment is only growing. Stars are more vocal, more business savvy, and more unified than ever. Napheesa Collier stepping fully into that space after years of leading mostly through example is a big sign of where this league is headed. Let me know what you think. Did Collier go too far with her comments about leadership, or did she say exactly what needed to be said? Do you believe the league will actually change anything in response, especially with the CBA deadline coming up? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more deep breakdowns like this on WNBA players, league politics, and how all of this shapes the future of women's basketball, make sure you're subscribed and keep it locked here.